The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched wider than any stadium built by human hands, a cathedral of alien power, filled with the voices of 100 species. The air thick with heat, tension, and fear. For 7 straight hours they had debated the fate of one species, humanity. Holographic banners of countless worlds shimmered across the curved ceiling, each symbol representing a civilization that once believed it ruled the stars. Now they all argued over the same question: what to do with the humans? They refused to obey our trade laws, shouted a scaled delegate from the Krethor Dominion, slamming his fist against the table. They colonize without permission, they weaponize forbidden technology, they ignore council authority. Across from him, a soft-voiced being of light spoke calmly. Yet they also defended 6 of our colonies during the Scythe invasion. Without their fleets, many of us would be extinct. Another alien hissed, yes, and they remind us of it every chance they get. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, the tension like a storm waiting to break. At the center stood the human delegation, 5 of them, dressed in simple dark uniforms, their posture straight, their expressions unreadable, no visible fear, no arrogance, only silence. Every camera in the galaxy broadcast their faces across millions of worlds. To some, they looked heroic, to others, terrifying. The council speaker, a towering insectoid named Varkesh, tapped his staff against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Humans of Earth, he said, his voice carrying through the hall. The council has extended its generosity for the final time. Your colonies have ignored our resource restrictions. Your ships patrol beyond your borders. Your silence insults this chamber. Will humanity finally agree to our terms? His compound eyes glowed as he leaned forward. The crowd waited, the silence heavy enough to crush thought. For a long moment the humans said nothing. The lead diplomat, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes sharp as steel, simply looked at him. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm, steady, and colder than the void itself. No. The single word cut through the air like a blade. No shouting, no explanation, no defense, just one word, and the entire chamber fell silent. Every translator across the galaxy repeated it in 1,000 tongues. No. It echoed from the screens of distant planets to the corridors of starships orbiting foreign suns. Even the council's drones paused in their hover. The speaker froze, his mandibles trembling. What did you say? He hissed. The human repeated. No, we will not accept your terms. Gasps filled the chamber. One alien minister shouted, you cannot refuse the council. The human tilted her head slightly. We just did. And with that, she turned and began to walk toward the exit. The other 4 humans followed, not a word between them, not a glance back. Their boots striking the marble floor like drums of defiance. The crowd erupted in chaos. Stop them. Arrest the humans. They can't just leave. Security drones floated forward, weapons ready. But the speaker raised a trembling hand. No, he muttered, his voice uncertain, let them go. The doors of the chamber opened, light poured through, and the humans walked out into it. Their figures swallowed by the brilliance. Silence followed them like a shadow. When the doors closed, the chamber exploded into shouting. They declared war, cried one delegate. It's a bluff, said another. They're humans. They always bluff. But deep in the back of the hall, an older alien named Tarsik, once an ambassador to Earth, whispered softly, no, they don't bluff, they warn. The words spread quietly, carried like a curse, as screens replayed the moment again and again. The humans saying nothing, walking away, leaving the galaxy breathless. In the control rooms of the Council's communication networks, the operators began receiving strange reports. Transmission loss on Earth channel. Human colonies not responding. Trade links offline. One officer frowned. It's as if they've cut themselves off. The supervisor replied nervously. Then we have a bigger problem than rebellion. We've lost sight of them. Across the stars, merchants found human ships gone from their usual routes. Border patrols reported empty stations. Yet strange energy readings flickered at the edges of known space. They're hiding something, said a Lutheran officer, his crest rising in fear. They always are, replied his commander. Back in the council chamber, panic turned into anger. One general slammed his claws on the table. We should act now. Strike before they can mobilize. Another voice shouted. Mobilize what? They have no fleets left after the defense wars. A small, quiet delegate interrupted. Do you actually believe that? The hall fell silent again, and for the first time in years, no one dared to answer. Far beyond the shining worlds of the Council, on the dark side of the moon, the Earth Defense Command was alive with movement. Hundreds of ships leaving orbit, their engines glowing blue, silent, efficient, unseen by anyone who didn't know where to look. Deep inside the command center, Admiral Kai Ward watched the screens, his hands behind his back. Status of communications blackout. He asked. Complete, sir. All colonies have gone dark to external channels. Good, he said, his voice calm. And the Council? His second officer replied, still shouting at each other. Sir. A faint smile crossed his lips. Let them shout. We've given them a century to listen. They chose arrogance. Now we choose silence. Above Earth, massive shipyards rotated slowly, their lights dimmed to avoid detection. Entire fleets built in secret under the guise of peace, now awakening one by one, engines igniting in the shadows. The human race was vanishing from the galaxy's eyes. Not because they were weak, but because they were preparing for something far greater. Back in the council chamber, the speaker slammed his staff again. Send envoys. Send fleets. They will answer. But none returned. Hours turned into days, and unease turned into terror. One young delegate asked, what happens if they don't respond at all? The old Ambassador Tarsik looked toward the sealed doors and said, then it's already too late. For centuries, the galaxy had laughed at humanity's defiance, mocked their emotions, their unpredictability, their chaos. But now, as their silence spread across the stars, every species began to feel something new. Fear. The humans had turned their backs on negotiation, and in that quiet act, they had declared a message louder than any war cry, a message that echoed across the void. When humanity stops talking, something is about to begin. Inside the Galactic Council headquarters, chaos had become routine. Every hall echoed with shouts, alarms, and desperate arguments. Days had passed since humanity's silent walkout, but the chamber had not known rest. Holoscreens replayed the footage again and again, the humans standing firm. Their leader saying one word, no, and walking away as the galaxy's most powerful beings froze in disbelief. That moment haunted every world. Now rumors spread like wildfire. Reports came in from border systems claiming human colonies had gone completely dark, one after another, trade stations, mining posts, and diplomatic outposts, all silent, their beacons offline, their space lanes blocked by unknown interference. They've cut us out completely, hissed an alien ambassador. They've sealed human space like a fortress, another shouted. They can't isolate from the council, it's against interstellar law. The insectoid council speaker slammed his staff against the floor. The sound drowned out every voice. Enough, he roared. They think they can defy us? Then we remind them who controls the galaxy. But his words lacked strength. His claws trembled as he spoke, because even he felt it, the strange tension in the air, as if the humans were watching from somewhere unseen, waiting, plotting, far across the void, at the edge of Sol system. The Terran fleet gathered in silence, hundreds of warships aligned in perfect formation, their dark hulls absorbing the light of distant stars. Inside the flagship Resolute Dawn, Admiral Kai Ward stood before a panoramic window, his reflection blending with the stars beyond. Status report, he said quietly. All fleets in position, sir, replied his officer. Earth command channels secure, lunar bases fortified, colonies reporting blackout success. No leaks? Ward nodded slowly. Good, the council will panic soon, and panic makes them predictable. His voice was calm, controlled, but beneath it was a sharp edge of intent. They'll send spies, maybe fleets. They'll want answers, he said, turning toward his crew. Let them come, but they'll find only silence. His words carried like a promise, while on the other side of the galaxy, the council's crisis chamber erupted into noise once more. We can't track them, shouted a Lutheran captain. Their entire network is off the grid, a reptilian general hissed. That's impossible. Every colony must depend on our trade systems. How do they function without us? The old ambassador Tarsik whispered from his seat. They don't depend on us. They never did. His quiet words were almost lost in the noise. For centuries we believed they needed our systems, our fleets, our approval. But the truth is, they've been building their own. The others turned toward him, stunned. You mean they planned this? He nodded slowly. Everything, from their trade pacts to their peace treaties, It was all stalling, all preparation, the insectoid speaker snarled. Then they've committed treason against the galactic order. Tarsic leaned forward, his voice calm and grim. No, speaker, they've simply outgrown it. Silence followed, the kind of silence that filled the air before a storm, across the galaxy. Communication channels flickered with intercepted messages, half-decoded human signals, fragments of coordinates and encrypted military codes. They're activating something, said one analyst, some kind of planetary defense grid. But it wasn't just defense. Deep beneath the Martian surface, inside the red planet's hidden bunkers, massive engines roared to life, unseen machines hummed in synchronization. Scientists monitored glowing blue cores that pulsed like heartbeats. ArcNet activation at 40%, said a technician, stabilizers holding. In the shadows stood a woman in a dark uniform, Director Aria Holt of the Terran Intelligence Division, her eyes fixed on the display. Once ArcNet is complete, they won't be able to see us, won't be able to hear us. To them, we'll vanish. Her aide swallowed nervously. And if they attack blindly? She smiled faintly. Then they'll shoot into the dark and hit nothing. Meanwhile, the Council assembled its war fleets, ships from 50 civilizations gathering under the Council banner. The speaker's voice echoed through the command channels. We will remind Earth who governs the stars. All ships advanced toward human borders. The captains hesitated, unease in their eyes. One murmured. They haven't even threatened us. Another replied. That's what makes it worse. Days later, the first scouting flotilla entered Terran space, scanning empty systems, lifeless worlds, abandoned stations, until one ship, the Vorath Prime, picked up something, unidentified energy readings ahead, said the pilot, similar to a warp signature but reversed. The captain frowned. Reverse energy? That's not possible. Before they could analyze further, the stars ahead flickered like reflections in water, and the entire fleet's sensors went black. What's happening? Shouted the navigator. Alarms blared, gravity twisted, and then, in a flash of white, every ship vanished, leaving only static in their wake. Back in the council chamber, panic erupted. We've lost contact with the Vorath fleet, cried the speaker. They're gone. The ambassadors shouted over one another, fear spreading like fire. They destroyed them. No, we'd see the wreckage. Then what did they do? Tarsic stood slowly, his old eyes filled with sorrow. They erased them, like they erased themselves from our control. And far away, hidden within the ArcNet field, the Terran fleet listened to the panicked transmissions with perfect clarity. Admiral Ward stood silent as his crew watched the chaos unfold across alien frequencies. They've taken the bait, sir, said his officer. Their fleets are entering our dead zones one by one, Ward nodded. Then let them wander, he replied. The more they search for us, the less they'll understand. Outside, the stars rippled faintly, bending under invisible energy currents. Human ships gliding between layers of space unseen but everywhere. Ward's voice echoed quietly through the deck. Let the galaxy panic, let them argue, because by the time they realize what we've done, we'll already be standing behind them. And as the human fleet moved deeper into the dark, their silent engines leaving no trail, the galaxy finally began to understand the most terrifying thing about humanity wasn't their rage or their weapons, it was their silence. Across the endless stars, the silence of humanity became the loudest sound in the galaxy. Entire sectors that once glowed with human trade and chatter were now voids of darkness. Navigation buoys that carried Terran signals emitted only static. Colonies once filled with life were ghost worlds under quarantine, and yet, every few days, faint transmissions leaked out. Unidentified energy. Spikes, ship movements faster than light, strange readings that bent the laws of physics. In the Council's high chamber, panic had turned into desperation. They're preparing for war, shouted the reptilian General Vorsk, slamming his claws into the table. We must strike before they do. The speaker, exhausted, rubbed his brow plates. You cannot strike what you cannot find, he hissed. Every probe we send into human space vanishes. Our fleets disappear like smoke. A cold mechanical delegate from the Mekran syndicate hummed. Perhaps they have achieved cloaking, but the older ambassador Tarsic interrupted softly. No, not cloaking. This is something else. They're rewriting the laws of detection themselves. The others turned to him in disbelief. That's impossible, barked Vorsk. Even we can't mask hyperspace energy signatures. Tarsic leaned forward. They can now. His voice was quiet, but it made the entire room still, far away, beyond the Council's senses. Humanity's hidden empire pulsed with energy. On the far edge of the Sol system, a colossal structure drifted in the dark, invisible to the naked eye. It was the Arc Nexus, the heart of humanity's new defense, forged in secrecy from the remnants of the old colonies. Its network stretched across every human world, connecting them through subspace tunnels that no alien technology could trace. Within its core, the arc field pulsed like a heartbeat, bending energy, light, and even thought. In the Nexus command deck, Director Aria Holt stood surrounded by holograms of blue light, lines representing the invisible barrier now surrounding human space. How long until full stabilization? She asked. 72 hours, Director, her engineer replied. But every test run triggers power spikes detectable beyond our borders. She frowned, then let them detect. Fear is our weapon now. Back in the Council chamber, the panic had reached boiling point. Our border fleets have vanished, shouted another delegate. Entire divisions lost contact after entering human perimeters. The speaker roared. What did they see? The officer stammered. Nothing, sir, they reported, stars moving, then static. Tarsic closed his eyes, whispering. The stars don't move, the space around them does. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Do you understand what this means? He continued. They're manipulating space itself, creating a veil between us and them. The speaker slammed his staff down. Ridiculous. Humanity cannot possibly possess that level of... But before he could finish, one of the Council's main holoscreens flickered to life, static filling the room, and then, an image appeared, a transmission from deep space, a human face staring straight into the camera, cold and calm. It was Admiral Kai Ward. Every delegate froze. The human's expression showed no rage, no threat, just absolute certainty. His voice echoed across the chamber, translated in every tongue. This is Admiral Ward of the Terran Fleet. To the Galactic Council, we will no longer engage in discussions. We have heard your demands, your accusations, your warnings, and we are finished listening. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Ward continued. You believe peace is achieved through dominance. We believe peace is preserved through silence. We do not threaten war, but we will no longer tolerate intrusion. From this day forward, any vessel entering Terran space will not return. The screen flickered, then vanished. Leaving the room in stunned silence, one delegate whispered, Was that Liv? Yes, said the technician. It came from everywhere. The speaker trembled. Everywhere. Yes, sir. It was transmitted simultaneously from 1,000 different coordinates across the galaxy. The implication was horrifying. It meant human ships were already present in nearly every sector. Watching, waiting, Vorsk slammed his claws again. They're bluffing. A scare tactic. Tarsic stood slowly. You said that before Vorta 9, remember? The general fell silent, his scaled face pale. Meanwhile, on the Terran flagship Resolute Dawn, Admiral Ward watched the Council's response feed in silence. They look afraid, his officer said quietly. Good, Ward replied. Fear keeps them predictable, panic makes them weak. But don't mistake this for victory. The galaxy will test us again, and when they do, ask the officer. Ward's eyes darkened. Then they'll see what silence truly means. Back on the Council homeworld, riots had begun in the streets, civilians terrified by rumors of human weapons that could erase planets. Traders refused to enter Terran zones. Economies began to crumble. Yet amidst the chaos, some alien races secretly reached out to the humans, hoping to form alliances in exchange for protection. But every message came back the same. No reply. Inside the Nexus core, Director Holt watched as encrypted communications from across the galaxy poured in. Her assistant asked, Should we respond? She shook her head. No, let the galaxy shout. We will speak only once. She turned toward the Arc core, glowing like a miniature star. And when we do, the whole universe will hear us. On the Council homeworld, the speaker gathered his security council. Prepare the Dominion fleets. Contact every allied world. Humanity must not be allowed to isolate themselves. If they build something powerful enough, they could. Suddenly the room darkened. The holoscreens flickered, and a new transmission forced its way onto every device. The symbol of Earth appeared again. But this time there was no face, only a calm voice that said, You had your chance to speak, now we listen to none. Then the signal ended, and the stars around their world dimmed for an instant, as if the light itself feared the message. Tarsik looked up through the chamber dome, whispering in a trembling voice, "The humans have stopped talking." Speaker, and when humans stop talking, it means the galaxy is about to change forever. The galaxy didn't sleep that night. Across 1,000 worlds, the broadcast from humanity played on repeat, the calm human voice echoing like a warning from the void. You had your chance to speak, now we listen to none. Every empire, every government, every ship captain heard it, and none could forget the tone. There was no rage, no hatred, only certainty. It was the sound of a decision made, the kind that could not be undone. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, panic replaced reason. The speaker shouted orders that no one followed. Delegates screamed at each other, fingers pointing, accusations flying. They've declared war. No, they haven't. Then why cut all contact? Because they don't need to talk to us anymore. The noise was endless, until a voice broke through the chaos, calm and low. It was Ambassador Tarsik, his wrinkled face shadowed under the glow of holograms. "They're not preparing for war," he said, his words silencing the room. "They're preparing for isolation." The speaker turned sharply. "Isolation?" Tarsik nodded slowly. "They don't want to destroy the galaxy. They want to disappear from it, to make us irrelevant." The room went still. The truth of it felt heavier than war itself. Because if humanity vanished, trade would fail, balance would crumble, technology would regress. For centuries the galaxy had stolen from human innovation while pretending to despise it. And now the very species they mocked had simply walked away. The speaker slammed his staff again. "Send every fleet we have. Find their worlds, force them to return." But his command came too late, because far beyond council space, something massive was already happening. Near the edge of the Perseus Rift, thousands of human ships glided in silence, their hulls black as the void, their engines leaving no light trails, entire planets hidden behind shimmering distortions. Cloaked by the ArcNet, Admiral Kai Ward stood at the command deck of the Resolute Dawn, staring at a hologram of the Milky Way slowly shifting. "Phase 2 is complete, sir," said his officer. "The arc curtain now covers all Terran sectors." Ward nodded. "Good, make sure no signal gets out. The galaxy must believe we've vanished." His tone was measured, his eyes cold. "Director Holt?" he asked through the comms. Her face appeared on the display. "ArcNet stability is at 91%. Sir, we can maintain the field indefinitely." Ward gave a rare, grim smile. "Indefinitely is all we need." Deep below the arc nexus, engineers monitored glowing circuits that looked almost alive, streams of light running across walls like veins. The arc field wasn't just a shield. It was a living network, adapting, learning, hiding humanity behind an artificial fold in space. To outside scanners, the solar systems within were nothing but empty dust. Yet inside, humanity thrived, building, preparing, while the galaxy screamed into the void for answers. On the Council's homeworld, the speaker gathered his highest generals. "They cannot simply vanish. No one can hide entire systems," a mechanical strategist replied. "They found a way to bend light and gravity, to twist readings back upon themselves. Even our deep space arrays can't locate them." Another general growled. "Then we'll search manually." Fleets of thousands launched from Council docks, their engines lighting the skies of every world. Warships from 50 species heading into Terran territory, guided by anger and fear. But when they entered the coordinates where Earth should have been, they found only empty space. No planets, no stations, not even radiation. "It's gone," whispered the pilot of the lead ship. "Earth is gone." His commander barked. "That's impossible. Planets don't just vanish." But the sensors didn't lie. Earth was still there, but hidden beneath the arc curtain, its presence folded between dimensions, invisible to all alien eyes. Admiral Ward stood watching the alien fleets wander aimlessly through false coordinates. "They're searching." "Blind," said his officer. Ward nodded. "Let them. The more they search, the less they understand." Suddenly, an alert flashed across his console. Unidentified signal breach on outer perimeter. Small Council scout ship entering arc boundary. Ward's expression hardened. "Bring it on screen." The image appeared, a small alien vessel drifting cautiously through dark space, its lights flickering, its scanners probing the unseen. "They're scanning blindly," said the engineer. "Should we destroy it?" Ward stared at the ship, thinking. "No," he said finally. "Let them see something." The room fell silent. "Sir?" Ward turned toward his officer. "Send a false image. Project the ruins of Earth, cities burning, oceans dry. Let them think we destroyed ourselves. Moments later, the alien ship's sensors filled with the illusion. Images of devastation, charred ground, black smoke rising from shattered continents. The alien captain gasped. They've done it. They've destroyed their own world. His crew scrambled to record the data, retreating at once. As they left human space, Ward watched quietly. That will keep them afraid for years. His officer asked softly, why not show them our strength? Ward replied, because fear of the unknown lasts longer than fear of power. Days later, the council received the scouts' transmission. The entire chamber went cold as the hologram showed Earth in flames. The delegates stared in disbelief. They wiped themselves out? Whispered one. To deny us control, said another. The speaker roared. Madness. They'd destroy their own world. Tarsic closed his eyes. You don't understand humans, speaker. When they choose freedom, nothing is too high a price. Across the galaxy, memorials for Earth began to appear, alien leaders calling it the fall of the Terrans. While secretly hoping it was true, yet behind the veil, Earth stood untouched, its people watching the stars in silence. The illusion complete, Admiral Ward gazed upon the blue planet from orbit. They think we're gone. He murmured, let them believe it, Director Holt's voice echoed over the comms. And when they realized the truth, Ward's expression turned to stone. By then, it won't matter, we'll be everywhere they never thought to look. And as the arc curtain shimmered faintly across the solar system, humanity disappeared from the galaxy's maps, not as victims, not as ghosts, but as predators waiting in the dark, their silence now the most powerful weapon the universe had ever known. Weeks turned into months, and the galaxy adjusted to a new kind of silence. The humans were gone, or so everyone believed, their worlds erased from every chart, their signals dead, their trade routes empty, and yet something felt wrong, too wrong. Because the absence of humanity did not bring peace, it brought fear. Alien fleets no longer trusted each other, trade collapsed, and whispers spread through every corridor of power. Whispers that said the humans were still out there, watching, waiting, preparing. On the council homeworld, the speaker stood before the holomap of the galaxy. Half the systems now dark, trade lines cut. Allies turning against allies, they've ruined everything, he muttered, our economy, our alliances, our order. Behind him, Ambassador Tarsic spoke quietly. They didn't ruin it, speaker, we did. They simply stepped aside and watched. The speaker turned, his eyes burning with rage. They erased themselves from existence. How can they still influence the galaxy? Tarsic sighed, because they never left, they simply stopped playing our game. Meanwhile, far beyond the council's reach, humanity thrived in the darkness of the arc curtain. Cities beneath glass domes glowed across Mars. Orbital stations floated in hidden dimensions. Connected through the arc net, humanity was silent to the galaxy. But within, it was alive like never before, on the resolute dawn. Admiral Kai Ward observed reports flowing in across every human sector. Population growth steady. Production efficiency up 30%. Fleet expansion ahead of schedule. His officer recited, our people have adapted well, sir. Ward nodded slowly. Good, we've lived under their rules for too long. Now we write our own. His tone was calm but firm. And the outer colonies? All under arc protection, sir, no breaches detected. Ward looked out the viewing glass at the distant stars. They think we're gone. Let's make sure they keep believing that. Back in council space. Chaos spread faster than ever, with human trade routes gone, entire planets starved, border wars erupted between once friendly species, and in the void created by humanity's silence, smaller empires rose, greedy and violent. The once mighty Galactic Council was now fractured. We must restore control, shouted General Vorsk. If we don't act, the entire network will collapse. The speaker slammed his staff on the floor. And what do you suggest, General? Attack shadows? The humans are gone. But even as he spoke, new reports came in. Fleets vanishing without combat. Colonies found empty overnight. Patrols returning with stories of human voices whispering through the void. Lies, the speaker hissed. Fear makes fools of us all. But Tarsic looked at him and said softly, no, fear remembers, and the galaxy remembers the humans. On a remote mining moon called Velize 9, a fleet of the Krethor Dominion detected strange energy fluctuations, arc signatures. Impossible, said their commander. Those readings died with the humans. Suddenly the scanners screamed. A wall of blue light filled their viewscreens, and out of the void, something emerged. Sleek black ships with no visible engines, moving faster than thought. The commander froze. Identify. Identify. His crew stammered. No identification, no heat, no sound. Then a voice crackled over their comms, cold and human. You shouldn't have come here. Before the commander could respond, the ships vanished, their own vessels losing power one by one, drifting helplessly as the blue light swallowed them. Days later, Council recovery teams found nothing but debris, no survivors, no black boxes, only static and melted hulls. This is human design, whispered one investigator. No, said his superior, it's something beyond human. In the shadows of the Arc Nexus, Director Aria Holt listened to the intercepted reports. They've started noticing, said her aide. Should we stop the patrols? She shook her head. No, the galaxy needs reminders. They must never think we've grown weak. She turned to the glowing arc core. Activate the Ghost Protocol. The room pulsed blue, her reflection flickering as countless human ships prepared for silent deployment. Let the galaxy chase ghosts. While we build gods, far away, Admiral Ward's ship entered orbit around Titan, the frozen moon now a command hub for the Terran fleet. Sir, we've confirmed another Council expedition lost, said his officer. They sent warships to test our borders, none returned. Ward's gaze remained fixed on the hologram of the galaxy, vast sectors now darkened by instability. The Council's fear is spreading faster than our ships, he murmured. Good, fear is balance. Fear keeps them from uniting. The officer hesitated. And if they discover the truth? Ward smiled faintly. Then we remind them why they feared us in the first place. On the Council world, a secret emergency session took place, the speaker pale, his staff trembling. We must assume the Terrans are alive, he said at last. They're eliminating fleets, destabilizing borders. This cannot continue, Vorsk shouted, then declare war. The chamber erupted again, until Tarsik spoke quietly. You can't declare war on ghosts. The others turned to him. What are you saying? Tarsik's old eyes glimmered. You've all been looking for fleets, ships, armies. But humanity's greatest weapon was never its machines. It's the idea of them. Silence fell. They don't need to strike. They just need to let us destroy ourselves. Outside, in the void, human ships glided unseen between the stars. Their movements guided by patterns no alien could trace. And deep within the resolute dawn, Ward stood before the arc interface, its light dancing across his face. They've built empires. On our fear, now we'll build peace on theirs, he said softly. Let the galaxy burn itself out. When it's over, humanity will rise from the ashes, and they'll call it destiny. As his ship drifted into the darkness, only one sound followed. The soft hum of the arc field, pulsing like a heartbeat, reminding the universe that silence was never weakness, it was preparation. Months passed, and the galaxy continued to unravel like a thread pulled too tight. Every Council world trembled under the weight of paranoia. Ships were vanishing without a trace, trade networks collapsing, alliances breaking, and yet no one could prove the humans were behind it. No messages, no signatures, no demands, just silence and disappearance. Fear had replaced logic. On the Council homeworld, the speaker stood before a wall of flickering holoscreens showing reports from across the galaxy. Another fleet lost. He barked. An officer stammered. Yes, sir. 50 ships from the Dominion Task Force vanished. Near the Orion Belt, no signals, no debris, nothing. The speaker slammed his staff. This is impossible. They can't be everywhere at once. In the corner of the chamber, Tarsik spoke quietly. Perhaps they don't need to be. The speaker turned sharply. What are you suggesting, old one? Tarsik's eyes glimmered. You still think like a soldier. You look for battle lines and borders. But the humans fight with patience, not power. The chamber filled with murmurs. You mean to say they're waiting? Tarsik nodded. They've hidden themselves so well that the galaxy is fighting shadows, and while we exhaust ourselves chasing ghosts, they grow stronger. Meanwhile, in the dark void between stars, humanity watched everything unfold through the ArcNet. On board the Resolute Dawn, Admiral Kai Ward stood in the command deck surrounded by blue holographic maps. Every Council fleet movement tracked in real time. They've deployed 3 new fleets toward the edge of Terran space, reported his officer. Intercept orders. Ward shook his head. No, let them wander. Every ship they lose will feed their fear. His calm voice carried the weight of a plan long in motion. Director Holt? He asked over comms, ArcNet expansion status. Her image appeared, steady and confident. The ArcNet now spans half the Orion Arm, Admiral. Our satellites mirror Council transmissions. They see only what we allow them to. Ward nodded. Then Phase 3 begins. Initiate pulse wave testing. Holt hesitated. You're sure we're ready? Ward's voice turned cold. The galaxy thinks we've vanished. Now it's time they see what silence has built. Deep within the Arc Nexus, the air hummed with power as enormous reactors ignited, blue lightning crawling across containment rings. The pulse wave weapon, humanity's first and only deterrent, was capable of bending subspace itself, erasing communication, power, and propulsion within entire sectors. Charging sequence initiated. Said the technician, target coordinates locked. Holt gave a small nod. Target a dead system, no casualties, just a message. In the black, the weapon fired. A pulse of invisible energy rippled across millions of kilometers. Sensors across alien space went dark, fleets stranded, engines failing. The Council's communication network collapsed for 6 hours. Chaos erupted instantly. We've lost half our systems. Our drives won't restart. Who attacked us? No one had answers. When power returned, a single faint transmission appeared on every Council channel. 3 words, calm and chilling. We warned you. Panic flooded the chamber as the speaker shouted, "Trace it. Trace that signal." The technicians worked frantically, but every attempt failed. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Sir, multiple reflections, no origin. The speaker's voice broke. They've declared war. Tarsik shook his head. No, they've declared ownership. Across the galaxy, alien civilians hid in fear, governments collapsed, and still, humanity remained unseen, untouchable, beyond reach, on Earth. Now hidden behind the Arc Curtain, the people lived in peace, cities thriving under crystal domes, children playing under twin moons, unaware that their silence had become legend. In orbit, the resolute Dawn glided above the blue planet. Ward staring down at his home. The pulse wave worked, said his officer. They'll think twice before crossing us again. Ward's expression was unreadable. They won't think twice. They'll never stop thinking. Every quiet star, every shadow, every signal they can't explain. They'll see us there. His gaze hardened. Fear is better than fire. It lasts longer. The officer hesitated. Sir, what if they unite against us? Ward turned toward him. They can't, because unity requires trust, and trust died when we went silent. Back in Council space, the speaker called an emergency summit. Hundreds of delegates joined, their faces filled with panic. We cannot survive like this, shouted one. Our fleets fail, our people riot, our systems fall apart. Another cried. Then what do you propose? Surrender to ghosts? Silence followed, until Tarsik stood again. Perhaps the humans were never our enemies. The room erupted in outrage. Traitor. Sympathizer. He raised his voice for the first time. Listen to me. They warned us. They tried to make peace. We mocked them. And now they've proven what happens when we stop listening. They don't want our destruction. They want our distance. Maybe we should give it. But no one listened. Fear had already eaten their reason. Fleets continued to launch into the void, searching for ghosts, and vanishing one by one. The galaxy was bleeding, and no weapon could stop it. Far away, Director Holt stood before the Arc core, its light pulsing gently. The pulse wave test. Succeeded, she said softly. But every use strains the network. We risk destabilizing the curtain. Ward's voice replied, distant but firm. Then we use it sparingly. Fear needs to breathe to stay alive. Holt looked uneasy. And if the Council ever stops fearing? Ward turned toward the stars. Then we'll remind them why the silence began. The stars around him shimmered faintly, reflections on the invisible barrier of the arc field. Beyond it, the galaxy burned in confusion, and humanity, hidden in perfect stillness, watched as their absence reshaped the universe. No declarations, no armies, no speeches, just silence, patient, cold, and infinite, because silence was not retreat. It was evolution years past, and the galaxy began to look like a shadow of its former self. Once proud empires now drifted in silence, their fleets broken, their economies shattered, and all of it began on the day humanity stopped speaking. The Galactic Council, what was left of it, met in secret chambers under dim light. their cities above ground decaying, rebellions rising, chaos spreading across entire sectors. The speaker had aged beyond recognition, his eyes hollow, his voice trembling as he said, "We are falling apart, every system, every alliance, gone, across." From him, a new generation of delegates sat in silence, none of them old enough to remember a time when the humans still spoke. But they all knew the stories. Children on alien worlds grew up hearing them. The stories of the Deathworlders who once smiled, who once negotiated, and then simply vanished, taking the light of civilization with them. "We must make contact," said one young ambassador. "We must find them before it's too late." The speaker snapped, "You think they'll talk to us after what we did? They will destroy us." But the young alien leaned forward, determination in her voice. "Or maybe they'll save us. They always did before." Across the stars, the Terran arc curtain still shimmered invisibly, keeping the rest of the galaxy blind. But inside it, humanity flourished, cities rose on moons, floating habitats circled Jupiter and Saturn, and on Earth, forests returned, oceans sparkled clean again. The people had not forgotten the galaxy. They simply chose not to return to it. Admiral Kai Ward still commanded from orbit. Though time had carved lines into his face, he stood on the resolute dawn, watching the silent blue sphere below. "The galaxy is collapsing," said his officer quietly. "Reports show the council barely functions. Many worlds have fallen into ruin." Ward nodded without emotion. "I know." His voice was steady but distant. "They were warned." His officer hesitated. "Some of them are asking for help again, sir. Refugee fleets approaching the border of the Ark Curtain, they beg for sanctuary." Ward turned slowly, his eyes unreadable. "And what do we do with beggars who once mocked us?" The officer swallowed. "Admiral, they're dying." Ward looked out at the stars. "Then they'll understand what silence feels like." Hours later, inside the hidden command station of the Ark Nexus, Director Aria Holt reviewed incoming data. "More signals from alien distress calls," said her aide. "Should we respond?" Holt stared at the flickering holograms of distant dying worlds, her voice soft. "If we respond, the curtain breaks. If it breaks, everything we built collapses." The aide said nothing, understanding the weight of her words. Holt added quietly, "Not yet." But deep down, even she could feel the pressure building, the moral tension of letting billions die while humanity stood safe behind its wall. On the council homeworld, now half abandoned, riots tore through the streets, food shortages turned neighbors into enemies, and in the chaos, one old figure stood at a balcony, watching the fires. Ambassador Tarsik, older, frailer, but still alive, he whispered to himself, "We did this, all of it." He remembered the human diplomat who once said no and walked out. He remembered how the council had laughed, and now he could only stare at the ashes of his civilization. Suddenly the sky above him trembled, every light flickering. As if reality itself had shifted, the crowd stopped, looking upward, and for the first time in decades, something pierced the Ark curtain. Not ships, not weapons, but light. A massive beam of golden energy stretched across the night, forming a holographic projection across dozens of worlds. And then a voice spoke, calm, human, and unmistakable. "To the civilizations of the galaxy, this is Admiral Kai Ward of the Terran Fleet." The voice carried across every frequency, reaching even the most remote corners of the galaxy. "We offered peace once, and you spat on it. We asked for cooperation, and you gave us control. When we left, you called us arrogant. But it was mercy." His tone grew colder. "Now we return not as conquerors, but as witnesses. What you did to yourselves is your punishment. And what you learn from it will decide if you survive." On every alien world, beings dropped to their knees, listening in terror. "We will open the gates once, for those who seek peace, not power," Ward continued. "But understand this, if you cross our borders with war in your hearts, you will not return." The transmission ended, the light faded, and silence filled the galaxy once again. The council chamber erupted into chaos. "They're alive." They spoke again. "They're offering refuge." Fleets across the galaxy scrambled, desperate ships heading toward the coordinates embedded in the message. Thousands of vessels of all shapes and kinds, refugees, soldiers, leaders, all racing toward the same place, hoping for forgiveness. But what they found when they reached the edge of the Ark curtain was beyond imagination. There was no planet, no station, no base, only an endless field of light, shimmering like an ocean of stars. The voice returned, softer now. Welcome to the edge of humanity's silence. And as the ships drifted forward, their sensors overloaded, reading infinite energy signatures, the voice spoke once more, "Step carefully, for beyond this light lies truth, and truth has no mercy." One by one, the ships vanished into the glow, some emerged changed, others never came back, and across the galaxy, every living being realized that humanity had not vanished. They had ascended. They had become something beyond flesh and metal. Something eternal. Admiral Ward stood before the vast arc core, its light surrounding him, his expression unreadable. "We gave them one chance," he said softly. "Now the galaxy must decide what to do with it." Director Holt nodded quietly beside him. "And if they fail?" Ward looked out into the endless dark. "Then silence will return, and this time, it will last forever." The galaxy stood on the edge of rebirth and extinction. Fleets drifted silently through the void. Refugees prayed to gods that never answered, and at the heart of it all, the humans, once exiled, once mocked, had become something more than legend. They were the light and the fear that shaped the stars. Weeks passed after Admiral Ward's transmission. Yet no one knew what truly awaited beyond the shimmering wall of the Ark Curtain. Entire civilizations sent expeditions, some seeking mercy, others seeking control, but most never returned, and those who did spoke in whispers, their eyes hollow, their minds fractured. "We saw them," one survivor muttered, trembling. They weren't human anymore. On the Council's dying homeworld, the new speaker, young and desperate, gathered the last remaining leaders. "We cannot survive alone," he said. "The humans have technology that can restore balance. We must appeal to them." An older delegate laughed bitterly. "Appeal to them? We spent centuries mocking them, threatening them, killing their people, and now we crawl to them like insects." The speaker leaned forward. "Would you rather starve?" Silence followed. Across the galaxy, desperation became faith. Temples built in humanity's name, alien monks chanting prayers to the children of Earth, believing them divine. But within the Ark Curtain, humanity was no god. They were something far more dangerous. They were calculating, united, and patient, deep within the Ark. Nexus, Director Aria Holt watched as fleets of refugees lined the barrier. Her aide said, "They're waiting for permission to enter." Holt's expression was unreadable. "Do they bring peace or war?" The aide hesitated. "Some carry weapons, others carry the dying." Holt sighed. "Admiral Ward will decide." Aboard the Resolute Dawn, Ward stood in the observation chamber, surrounded by the soft hum of the arc field, his reflection cast in blue light. "They're coming," he said quietly, "just as expected." His officer asked, "Should we let them in, sir?" Ward didn't answer immediately, his eyes fixed on the holographic projection of thousands of alien ships crowding the border. "If we open the curtain, the galaxy returns to chaos," he said slowly. "If we keep it closed, we become what they feared most, tyrants of silence." His second-in-command spoke carefully. "Then maybe silence was mercy." Ward turned toward him, his face carved with resolve. "Mercy is meaningless if no one survives to learn from it." Moments later, a pulse of energy spread through the void, and the curtain began to open, slowly, silently, like the parting of a sea. The alien ships trembled as blinding light filled their viewports. Some tried to flee, others moved forward in awe. "We're entering human space," whispered a pilot. "Gods forgive us." What they found beyond the light was not destruction or paradise, but perfection. A web of living light connecting planets, cities floating on energy streams, ships the size of moons orbiting in harmony. The humans walked among their creations, taller, calm, unarmed, their eyes glowing faintly with the same blue as the Ark itself. Admiral Ward's voice filled every ship that crossed the barrier. "You came seeking salvation, but you also carry the disease that nearly destroyed the stars: fear, greed, and pride." His tone was neither cruel nor kind. "You will live among us, but not as rulers, not as conquerors, as students. Learn what we became, and maybe one day, you'll earn the silence you once feared." For months, the refugees were settled on human-controlled worlds, taught to coexist under Terran rule, their old hierarchies erased, their fleets dismantled. The galaxy entered an uneasy peace. Yet not all were content. Deep in the ruins of the old council, a rebellion began, small groups whispering, "The humans play gods, they watch every thought." We traded chains for walls of light, and from that whisper, darkness was born again. One night, a stolen alien ship slipped beyond the border, carrying a Weapon powered by unstable antimatter, the rebels intended to strike at the Ark core itself. But humanity already knew, the moment the ship entered the void, the ArcNet reacted, bending space, freezing time. Admiral Ward appeared before the intruders in holographic form, his eyes calm. "You would burn the galaxy again to feel powerful," he said softly. "You still haven't learned." The ship disintegrated in silence, erased from existence. No wreckage, no memory, he whispered, just consequence. In the aftermath, Director Holt stood beside Ward in the Nexus, the Ark core pulsing between them. "They'll never stop testing us," she said. "Then we'll never stop reminding them," he replied. She looked at him. "Do you ever regret it, leaving them behind?" Ward turned toward the stars beyond the curtain. "We never left them behind," he said. "We just stepped ahead." As he spoke, the arc field shimmered again, expanding farther than before, spreading across systems untouched by war, stabilizing broken worlds, healing dying suns. Humanity's silence had evolved. It was no longer defense. It was dominion, across the galaxy. The stars brightened one by one, glowing with faint blue light, marking the reach of the Ark network. And in every world, beings looked up at the sky and whispered the same words: "The humans have returned." For centuries, the galaxy had defined power through fear, but now it was defined by silence, a silence that watched, protected, and punished, a silence that spoke louder than any fleet. Admiral Ward stood on the bridge, the infinite stars reflecting in his eyes. "They called us dangerous when we spoke," he murmured. "But now they finally understand why silence is sacred." Beyond him, the Ark curtain pulsed once more, spreading outward like ripples in an ocean, reaching new galaxies, consuming the darkness with its glow. And in that eternal light, a single human voice echoed across the universe, calm, timeless, and absolute. "Then I won't have to aim."